Alan Wake is a game where you kill monsters with the power of light and lead. The game starts and our hero, Alan Wake, runs a guy over. We're 5 seconds in and he's already a terrible role model. While checking out the crime scene, the body disappears. Naturally, Alan decides to hike into the woods, in the middle of the night. Don't worry, this game has a lot of hiking into the woods. And then a guy covered in shadows show up, forcing us to hide in a cabin. The TVs may seem creepy, but this is what happens when you share a password. Well, I can't binge any shows, so let's get back out there. Darkness guy is gone, and now we're talking to a giant ball of light. It has been 5 minutes and the game has already lost it. Grab a flashlight and use it to burn the darkness. This doesn't seem to exercise the poor guy, but now we can just kill him. You know, like heroes do. Get the flare gun, and it's more like a grenade launcher, to be honest. We make it back onto the road, and now we're getting attacked by a tornado. Revolvers, tornadoes. This game must take place in America. Then, out of a sudden, Alan Wake up, and the game actually begins. Welcome to Bright Falls. Alan is a famous writer, and probably a raging alcoholic. He and his wife, Alice, are having a little vacation. Go to the local diner and meet the most important characters in the entire game. The old gods of Asgard. Trust me, they're more important than everyone else around here. Except for the crazy lady holding a lamp. We're gonna stay at this cabin, so we need to get a key from Stucky, who right now is at the restroom. We patiently wait a few minutes and I'm just kidding. This asshole starts knocking on the door while Stucky is doing his business. Luckily, this nice lady gives us the key, and then disappears, I guess? We get back on the car and drive away, just in time for Stucky to run out after us, because we totally forgot the key. Anyway, we reach the cabin, and since the wife is afraid of the dark, we turn the power back on. And as soon as we step in, we begin arguing and storm out. You can just tell the divorce is right over the horizon. And while Alan is outside, the power goes out. And surprisingly, it isn't his fault. He runs back inside just in time to see Alice fall down into the lake. Alan jumps in right after her and he wakes up in a car crash. Well, at least this time he didn't hit anybody with the car. Probably. We could follow the road, but instead we head into the forest in the dark of night. Again. We find the weird ball of light and it drops a piece of paper. It's a manuscript from the novel Alan was supposed to write, where the main character is attacked by an ex-murderer in the woods in the dead of night. Side note, you can read these pages. I didn't because I didn't want to spoil the story. For myself, I'm fine with spoiling it for you. Trespass into this lumberyard and meet Stucky. He seems angry, probably because we never picked up the key for his cabin. Run into this office and we recreate The Shining. We could call 911, but rural America. And then a bulldozer takes out the entire building. And now for the boss fight. We use the flashlight to blind Stucky, and then we open fire. His body disappears, so it's a crime with no evidence. We reach the gas station and Alan sees himself acting crazy on television. Maybe this is a sinister mystery, or maybe he's a famous writer with a drug problem. Really, who can tell? Anyway, we call 911 and the sheriff picks us up. Alan tells her his wife disappeared at the cabin on Cauldron Lake. But there's no cabin. The whole island was destroyed in a volcanic eruption in the distant years of the 1970s. Flashback to New York, and Alice is afraid of the dark. So Alan tells her this story, that when he was a kid he had this old light switch called the clicker. His mother told him it would create a magic light and scare all the monsters away. Alice wonders if he made up the story because, well, that's his entire job, isn't it? Back in the present day, Alan is at the police station, and I'm sorry, identifying features, knack for winning contests? We can't trust these cops. We receive a call and Alice has been kidnapped. Normal people would let the police know, but I don't think they're good at their job. This guy shows up, he's some sort of doctor, and naturally Alan breaks his nose. See? The police isn't helping anybody. And then Barry shows up. Who's Barry? He's Alan's agent. Barry tried calling us for an entire week, and no one picked up, so he figured he'd best come over and ruin the vacation. Leave the police station and drive up to the mountains. Meet Rusty and get a key for one of his cottages. Wait until evening and leave Barry behind. We turn the corner and it's almost like this place got hit by a tornado. Rusty is hurt, so we steal his revolver. I'm sure the smell of blood will keep the predators away. The plan was to get the power back on, but it seems like we're gonna have to exit. On the way back, we get attacked by Rusty. Is he possessed by the darkness? No, he probably just wants his gun back, but I can only spare the bullets. Run back into the forest and we get into a cable car accident, the first of many. Just before we're killed, this guy saves Alan with one of those grenade flares. Oh yeah, and he's the kidnapper. We fight all the way to Lover's Peak, and as it turns out, the kidnapper is a fan. He's gonna John Lennon us, isn't he? Never mind, he'll exchange Alice for the new manuscript. The one we didn't write, so naturally, Alan punches him too. And seriously, what's wrong with all the railings? Find the car and heroically run people over to get back to Barry. And it's a scene out of a Hitchcock movie. Shine lights on the birds and just don't ask questions. The danger has passed and Alan gets to writing, but George R. R. Martin here can't finish his book. Luckily, Sarah calls Barry and tells him she has the manuscript. It has been 24 hours and this guy's already collecting phone numbers. There's nothing suspicious going on at all.
Have a great day.
Seriously, if Alan Wake was a better writer, he would have recognized this cliché. We get there, we drink some coffee, and get roofied. Is Sarah possessed by some sort of dark presence? Is the TV haunted? Is Sarah a crazy stalker? You wouldn't believe this, but yes to all. Alan wakes up first, so naturally, he ditches his best friend and heads outside. How long were we unconscious with a crazy stalker? Apparently so long that this guy called the police. And before Alan can teach him about Tinder, the cops show up. And Agent Johnson here has us at gunpoint, but I'm the only one allowed to make references, so Alan runs for it. And this trained FBI agent opens fire on a writer wearing tweed. Did I mention this game takes place in America? We Shawshank Redemption through the forest until a helicopter spots Alan, but burrows are stronger than steel. Seriously, we're a puzzle away from this turning into Resident Evil. Lucky me, there's no puzzles, there's just a haunted gate bearing the way, but I have a flashlight. And yes, we're fighting inanimate objects now. New weapon, flashbangs. But it's already been established you need lead to kill people, so these might as well be grenades. Get to the radio station and hopefully this guy will help us. Except Agent Johnson shows up and he keeps making references, and he tries to shoot again. Well, can't get any help here, so let's jump off a cliff. Mid-hike we got a call. America must have some great cell reception, seriously. It's Alan's wife, except she sounds wrong. Nowadays we know it's just a deepfake. We go through the world's worst bridge to reach a depot, and at the depot we are attacked by our strongest enemy yet. Luckily, Christine is weak against flashlights. Let's not ask any questions, okay? We heroically steal a car and exit to the next area. I can't help but feel I was supposed to keep driving down this road. But eventually, we get to the coal mine and wait for the kidnapper to show up. Except, he never does. Now that it's finally night again and the enemies are back, he tells us to go up to Mirror Peak. So we're back to hiking. This time, it's the worst trail in the world, and the birds are still here. Eventually, we head into a cave. I played through the entire game. We're headed to Mirror Peak. Alan goes underground. I have no idea why this is the path. The most interesting part of the cave is that he can hear his wife screaming, and he hallucinates for drowning again, and he has a massive headache. It might be supernatural, it might be carbon monoxide poisoning, who knows. Get into another cable car accident and finally catch up to the kidnapper. But surprise, it was a bluff. He never had Alice, he just wanted the manuscript. Honestly, Alan, you saw her fall into the lake, how would she have gotten kidnapped? Honestly. And then the tornado shows back up, and just as Alan is pulled in, he lights a flare and falls into the lake. The fact he survives is the least realistic part of the game yet. And for the third or fourth time, Alan wakes up. This time he's at this guy's, I'm not calling this a hospital, but he does solve all the mysteries. Alice is dead. She drowned. Alan is suffering from hallucinations, delusions, and obsessions. He thinks everything revolves around himself. He is just like every artist I have ever met. Take a walk around the lodge and the old gods of Asgard are here. And when the power goes out, giving us enough privacy for the rock stars to solve all the mysteries in the game. So, this guy, Bioshock, he was a poet and a widower. He discovered the darkness in the lake and wanted to use it to bring his wife back. It didn't work, of course. The darkness just wanted to break free all along. So he did a murder-suicide thing, blew up the island, and kept it contained. Years later, the old gods of Asgard used the darkness to write songs. I don't really know why they needed it, but okay. As it turns out, the darkness has been used in Alan too, and it's very close to breaking free. Luckily, the crazy lamp lady seems to know more about it, and before you know it, these two old men start a coup. Time to get out of here. In the process, we find out the doctor knew the kidnapper, so now it's personal. Get into his office and we find Barry, but we also find the manuscript and the gun. God bless America. The darkness catches up to us, and not only does Alan run away, he locks the doctor in, because that's what heroes do. Run outside and let's just say we need to leave. Barry wants to go back home, but Alan thinks he needs to solve this mystery to bring his wife back. And then a giant rock shows up. The two of them split up and head for the farm. Somehow Barry makes it first, and Alan gets there just in time to catch the show. Seriously, this is the most hyped moment in the entire game. Tons of enemies, the best gear possible, and even Barry scores some kills here. And all the while it's playing songs by the old gods of Asgard. Wait, does this mean the band used playback live? Go through the farm, fight another Christine, reach the farmhouse, and the secret message, it's just a song. Did we really need to come all this way for a song? Couldn't we just have found it on Spotify? Anyway, they decide they need to meet the crazy lamp lady, but it's too dark outside and there are monsters everywhere. And instead of standing guard and make sure they're safe, they get drunk on moonshine, probably from the 70s. When he falls asleep, Alan dreams of the night when Alice drowned, and this old lady basically guilt trips him into writing a story to bring her back. Alan wrote for a whole week, probably the most productive he has ever been. Luckily, Bioshock shows up and saves him. He manages to run away, only to get into the car crash from the beginning of the game. The dream ends, and you see, someone should have stood guard. The sheriff is worried about Alan's hangover, and Agent Johnson is pointing a gun at a writer inside a jail cell. Then he gets a sense of deja vu, because he read this scene before, in a manuscript. I wonder what comes next. The sheriff and Ellen are off to find a helicopter, and this guy is going to call people and, I don't know, tell them to be careful or something. And for the first time in the entire game, we have backup. Turns out we can go through the entire town because she has keys to every building. It must be some sort of small town thing that I don't know about. Barry saves Ellen again, and he's wearing Christmas lights. At least he has a headlamp. I'm the one who makes references here, okay buddy? Speaking of which, this guy thinks he's some sort of chainsaw man. But we have a shotgun. Get to the helipad and fight off hordes of blue-collar workers. At this point the tornado is done playing around, and it's flinging these steel beams at us. Why doesn't the tornado just attack us directly? I'm pretty sure I can't beat a tornado in a fist fight. Get away in the helicopter, and apparently birds are smarter than tornadoes. Someone didn't wear a seatbelt, so now we need to get to the power plant on foot. This radio here plays a song from a band that's very similar to the Old Gods of Asgard. Except it might lead to a copyright strike, so I'm gonna skip this entirely. Head through this extremely safe work environment, we get to the bridge and we use the controls to spin the whole thing around. You would think retracting a bridge would be simpler than rotating it 360 degrees, but okay. We reach the power plant and we meet the smartest person in the entire game. She has a secret weapon to defeat the darkness, but first we need to restore the power. It involves a platforming section and skill issues. When we get back, she tells us we're going to the well-lit room that is somewhere in the dam. How are we going to get there? Through this abandoned pipe. No more hiking. She really is the smartest character in the game. Except, oh no, the helicopter goes down. So we exit the pipe, meet up with them, and hike up to the dam. The least realistic part of the game might be that this alcoholic writer can do all this exercise out of a sudden. His friends make it inside, but Alan is locked out. Get to the top of the dam. At this point I actually ran out of ammo. The tornado shows up and it's destroying everything except this one elevator. We finally reach the well-lit room and we find a secret weapon. It's Raid Shadow. No, just kidding, it's a light switch. And there's a manuscript page written by Bioshock. It tells the story of how Alan's mom gave him the switch and told him it can drive the monsters away. It's the clicker. The same clicker he told his wife about? Did Bioshock write Alan into existence? We have what we came for, so it's time to get back to the cabin at Cauldron Lake and finish the story. There isn't any room left for mistakes, so we leave our friends behind. When we get out it's sunny, but just past this tunnel it's night again. And it's a mad dash down the road to Cauldron Lake. The darkness throws everything it can at Alan. Enemies, ambushes, inanimate objects, another tractor, and we come face to face with our old nemesis, the tornado. Bullets won't work on this one, but the grenade launcher will. Alan, we had the flare gun the entire game. We could have done this 10 hours ago. With the tornado defeated, Alan knows what he must do. He walks up to the edge, clicker in hand, and after 10 hours of suffering, 10 hours of endless nightmares, it would finally come to an end. This would be an escape from the madness. He wakes up in New York and his wife, she had a few cigarettes, I think? The darkness outside the window, probably smog, but we find the clicker and escape. Bioshock introduces us to No one. And now Alan can light up words to open a path to the cabin.
Now you will never get her back.
He puts it inside of her. Get your mind out of the gutter. Alan can finally finish his novel. But nothing good comes cheap. So while Alice is set free, he is trapped in the bottom of the lake.
It's not a lake. It's an ocean.
Until now, because September 29th, 2023, they announced Alan Wake 2 will accompany the return of the old gods of Asgard and a new album with their famous hits you all know and love and 3 brand new songs. And that's my terrible take on Alan Wake. I can't believe Alan Wake 2 is going to come out before the Winds of Winter.
Warrior!